Hello, and thank you for watching this video on the multiplication of decimals. Today we are going to have a look at three types of problems. First one being 5 times 1.3, where there's one number after the decimal point, and we will learn why that becomes 6.5. Then we will have a look at something a little more challenging with two numbers after the decimal point, and why that becomes 0.65. And then the third problem, which is more challenging still, and why that becomes 0.0065. And hopefully you will start to see the relationship between the numbers after the decimal point in the question and the numbers after the decimal point in the answer. And also to learn that for every human on the planet Earth, there are 1 million ants. Fascinating. Anyway, let's get back to the maths. Okay, so let's start at the first simpler problem, something like this. 6 times 0.7. The first thing you want to do is to count up how many numbers are after the decimal point in the question. And in this case, there is one number, just that 7. The next thing you want to do is to ignore all decimal points and just multiply the numbers as they are. So in this case, it's going to be 6 times 0.7. which is just the same as doing 6 times 7, which you know equals 42. Then lastly, we need to put the decimal place back in, and we're going to put it so there is one number after the decimal point in the answer. So in that case, there's going to be, the decimal place will be in between the 4 and the 2, so we get 4.2. Okay, so let's try something a little bit more challenging still. 1.5 times 0.5. So the first thing I need to do is count up how many places are after the decimal point. Here there are 2 numbers. Then we just work out what is 15 times 5, which equals 75. So then I need to put the decimal place back in. I know that after decimal point in the answer, there's going to be 2 numbers after the decimal point. I'll take my answer, 75. And the 5 goes at the very end, the 7 goes in the next place over, and I fill in the gap with a 0. So we know that that equals 0.75. Okay, so let's have a look at something even more challenging still. 0.03 times 2.5. So here we have 2 plus 1, so there's 3 numbers after the decimal point in the question. I'm going to ignore the decimal points and just work out 3 times 25, which equals 75. Then I'm going to put the decimal place back in. So I know that there's 3 numbers after the decimal point. My answer is 75. I work back from the end. 5 goes there, 7 goes in that place value column. Then I fill the rest of the gaps with a 0. So we know that equals 0.075. Right, now it's your turn to have a go. Answer these 3 questions, pause the video, and then I will show you how to do them, and hopefully we get the same answer. Okay, let's have a look at the first one. 6 times 0.8. So what I do is I just know that there's one number after the decimal point. I'll use that for my answer. I will multiply 6 times 8, which equals 48. Then I'll put the decimal place back in, and as there's one number after the decimal point in the answer, that means the decimal point will go in between the 4 and the 8. 4.8 is the answer. Alright, second problem, 1.4 times 0.6. There are 2 numbers after the decimal point, so there'll be 2 numbers after the decimal point in the answer. Work out 14 times 6, and that should equal, let's work it out here. 14 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry the 2. 1 times 6 is 6. Plus the 2, 84. But this time there's going to be 2 numbers after the decimal place. So that means that the 84, both numbers will go after the decimal point. Put a 0 before the decimal place. And it's 0.84. Thirdly, 2.7 times 0.3. So I know that here there's going to be 3 numbers after the decimal points. I'll work out just what 27 times 3 is, which equals 81. Then you know how to work that out. So then I will need to place back my decimal point in. So we get 3 numbers after the decimal point. The 81 goes at the end. Fill in the gaps with zeros, and my answer is 0.081. Okay, so if you really wanted to be good at multiplying decimals, here is a good one for you to try. This is to become the ultimate champion of this method. Try working out what 0.0062 times 32.5 equals, and pause the video, and then I will show you how to do it over the next slide. Right then, let's see if you got this one correct. So the first thing I will do, I will count up how many numbers are after the decimal point. In this case there are 5. Then I would work out 62 times 325, which equals 20,150. And then I need to put the decimal place back into my answer, remembering that there are 5 numbers after the decimal point. So I'll draw my decimal point, count to 5 numbers afterwards, and then work backwards. That 0 goes in at the end, and then the 5, the 1, the 0, the 2, and then before the decimal place I'll put a 0 as well. And that means my answer equals 0.2015. This 0 here is insignificant, so we don't need to write it down. Okay, so to recap, remember to count how many numbers are after the decimal point in the question. Remove the decimal point and multiply the numbers, and then insert the decimal point back into the answer, so there is the same number of numbers after the decimal point in the answer as there is in the question. The next step would be division of decimals. So try to think about how would you divide 1.5 divided by 0.3. Would you expect your answer to be bigger or smaller, and why is that? And we will have a look at this topic in the next video. Available from all good YouTubes near you. Thank you for watching.